All right, I got a question. And it's something that's been on my mind the past couple of days. Can video games be made into good movies? And if so, what does it take to actually accomplish that? You're either on two sides of the spectrum. You take a video game, a very popular video game, you either go far left to the left side of the field where you say to yourself, all right, let's make this video game into a movie, but let's just make it based off of the world of the game instead of actually making it about the game or the characters within the game. And that's where you lose a lot of interest, because it almost doesn't feel like a movie based off the video game anymore. It just feels like a movie on its own that has nothing to do with the game. Or you go right and you choose to say, hey, let's take this video game, let's use all the main characters, let's use somewhat that the story was being used in the video game itself, but let's make a story that has nothing to do with the video game or has no connection to the video game, and just make it its own brand new story. And now a lot of people start to feel as if the video game creators know how to handle these characters, they might not. And more often than not, that's what ends up happening. They try to make a brand new story with the same characters from the video game, and it just doesn't end up working properly. It is a very, very, very tricky type of film to touch, video game adaptations. It's not easy at all. You could even argue that taking a very popular movie and trying to make a video game out of the movie is just as hard, if not harder, and has been quite unsuccessful as well. But live action movie adaptations of video games don't ever seem to be successful. Like, I don't remember one video game movie that was successful. Nowadays, it's rampant because we live in a world of constant media and brand new movies all the time. Reboots and sequels and redos and all of the re's possible. So now, being in this entertainment world, we're constantly going to be getting all different types of movies all of the time. So now video game representations, they're going to be more rampant. And especially, what have we seen in TV shows? It's happening in TV shows a lot now, and it's only going to continue to get even larger. So I've been thinking about this lately, and I just don't know if there's a good video game movie. I don't know if one exists. So I just went on Wikipedia and I looked at a list of all the video game movies that are in existence right now. And if anyone kind of like jumps out to me, I'm gonna go look at it on IMDb and check out their ratings to see what it has. But already I skimmed through this list, and I can tell you right now, there's probably maybe one or two of these video game movies that have a decent review. The rest of them probably gonna be really bad. Okay, so the list immediately starts off with a Super Mario Bros. Movie that was released in May 28th of 1993. I don't really think this is a movie that would have ever needed to have been made. And now that just reminds me that Chris Pratt was just cast as Mario in an upcoming animated film, apparently, and it has already been announced that he is not doing the Italian accent. If you're going to be doing a Super Mario Brothers film, the least you could do is do the accent, or get someone who can do the accent, anyone other than Chris Pratt, to play Super Mario. I don't care if it's live action or animated. So already that just screams failure right off the bat. But second of all, this 1993 Mario Brothers movie probably should have never been made. And I'll just say right now, I know I always talk about be your own judge. Go out and watch movies and gain your own perspective. Have your own rating system, and I stand by that, you should. But sometimes you can gain some knowledge by looking at reviews for specific movies and gaining other people's insight. And seeing a 35 out of 100 on Super Mario Brothers doesn't tell me a lot of good things. You have Street Fighter in 1994, and then right after you have Mortal Kombat in 95 and Mortal Kombat Annihilation in 97. I've never seen those three movies from beginning to end. I've only seen clips of those films. And I made a video a couple months ago now talking about how bad the Mortal Kombat movie was. And no, I'm not talking about the 90s ones, because we all know how awful those movies are. I'm talking about the new one. The one that just came out this year is terrible. It's Mortal Kombat. All you're expecting is action. You know it's bad when even in the Mortal Kombat movie, the action isn't the best, and the characters just, you don't care about them at all. Mortal Kombat is a film that should never be a film. It should only be video games. And the same goes with Street Fighter. Street Fighter isn't as bloody or as graphic as Mortal Kombat, but I just don't see how you could make a suitable movie out of Street Fighter. And when looking at the reviews, once again, this film has a 34 out of 100, a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes. Guys, Mortal Kombat. Okay, the first one, 60 out of 100, which isn't the worst thing in the world, and a 44%, which isn't awful, but it's also not good. But I think if you were to ask people who were around when this movie first released, and maybe my age who were really excited for it at that time, I guarantee you those people now would say, yeah, the movie's terrible. Like, it's bad. But for its time, it was decent. But guys, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, the one right after, 2 years later, this thing has an 11 out of 100 on Metascore and 2% on Rotten Tomatoes. No movie should be under double digits like that. That's disgusting. So my point about those fighter games is that they shouldn't be movies. There's no need to really make it a movie. You might be able to get away with an anime or an animation, but a live action adaptation doesn't need one. Okay, so now you enter 2001 and you get this long stretch of Tomb Raider and Resident Evil. And I'd say long stretch mainly for Resident Evil, because I'm pretty sure Angelina Jolie's Tomb Raiders only lasted 2 films. They're really not the best. Now, I'm not saying Tomb Raider is not a video game that you can't make a movie out of, but maybe 2001 and 2003 was not the time to be making a Tomb Raider movie, because they just were not good. And the ratings speak for themselves. Then you have Resident Evil. And this was my point at the very beginning of the video where I said you either go left or right. You either do a brand new story that really has nothing to do with the video game, or you go right where you use characters but make a brand new story. Where they went with these 9 Resident Evil movies they made with Mila Jovovich, they went left. And they didn't just go left. They went so far left that if those flat earthers were actually right and the earth was actually flat, they fell off the earth. Those movies are awful. Like, terrible. Every single one of them. It has nothing to do with Resident Evil. Yeah, sure, it shows the umbrella symbol every once in a while and has notable characters here and there, but they're not the main focus, and they're not even, quite frankly, important anyways. I'll tell you right now, I haven't watched every single one of them because they're a waste of time. They're pointless. I've maybe only watched one from beginning to end, but that has nothing to do with Resident Evil. You could watch those movies and think it's not Resident Evil, that it's just another zombie survival horror type of series on its own. As you continue down this list, you see some super popular video games, such as Silent Hill, Hitman, Far Cry, Max Payne, another Street Fighter film, Tekken, Prince of Persia, more Resident Evil, Need for Speed. They made a Need for Speed film when Fast and Furious was in its prime. Come on, just make another Nope. I saw what I was doing there. I saw what I was gonna say, and I don't mean it. I was gonna say, if you wanted to make Need for Speed, you should have just made another Fast and Furious movie. But I don't mean that, because there shouldn't even be 9 Fast and Furious movies in the first place. There should only be 1, and that's where it should have ended. What I mean is, if you want to watch Need for Speed, maybe you should just watch Fast and Furious, because that's what the Need for Speed movie was. And no, I did not watch Need for Speed. I could just already tell that it was Fast and Furious. And from some of my friends who did watch it, they all told me it was basically Fast and Furious. And if your argument is, well, yeah, what else would you expect Need for Speed to be? I agree. It has to be a Fast and Furious. But then that should show you it shouldn't have been a movie. It should just stay a video game. Then bam, you hit me with Assassin's Creed, and you got Michael Fassbender in the movie. I've seen clips of this movie, and that movie looks awful. I've even heard that apparently Michael Fassbender got so bored on that set that he literally stopped trying in the movie. Then you hit us again with another reboot in Tomb Raider after all these years, and you get Alicia Vikander playing Tomb Raider. Good choice. I do like her. It does not have the worst ratings in the world. 48 out of 100 and 52%. It's like right in the middle. I've never seen the movie because I'm just not interested. I don't really care. At least it could stay on the half level. If this is 0 and this is 100, at least it, like, you know what I mean? It's not, still, that's not saying much. And then Rampage with The Rock. And I mean, guys, I like The Rock. I really do. I think, you know, he seems like a really cool guy. He's pretty funny. And I'm not gonna lie, he's got a couple of films that I get enjoyment from, but like, come on, man. Is Rampage any different than the past 16 movies he's done over the past 2 years? I mean, it's the same thing over and over. And look, I know Rampage is an old school game, but if you wanna watch Rampage, just watch King Kong. That's all it is. You also got Detective Pikachu. I'm not a Pokemon fan, but I'll even give this movie credit as one of the better rated video game adaptations. It's not the best, but it's better. 53 out of 100, and Rotten Tomatoes is 68%. That's near my leveling grade of good. $433 million in the box office, that's not bad at all. My complaint, though, is Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu. Of all people you could have got, you get Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu. All it is just about staying current with the trends and the people who are trendy. That's all that casting choice was. Then you come out with Monster Hunter from Capcom, which to a lot of people is an award-winning video game. Have we not learned anything with Mila Jovovich and her husband making movies together? It didn't work for the 90 Resident Evil movies they made. It's not gonna work here. Now we're nearing the end of this list, where we actually get to November 24th of this year, this month. Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City was released. And when this movie was first announced, I was looking forward to it because they did announce that this was going to follow the story of the video game, which is great news. But then the casting choices started to come out for these characters, and more than half of them don't suit what they actually look like in the game. And second of all, from the people I know who have unfortunately seen this movie, they say the acting is terrible. There are monsters and creatures in the movie that were never in the game. And Leon, who is one of my favorite characters in the Resident Evil franchise, is completely shit on. He is nowhere near as important in the movie the way he is in the game, which is so disappointing and ridiculous. No, I'm not going to see this movie. I have no interest in supporting Resident Evil films because they can never seem to get it right, and they can never seem to give it to the right production company and the right director to get it right. Now, moving on, very soon into the future, we have an Uncharted film with Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. This is another movie I was okay with them making when they first announced it, but now not so much. The trailer is nothing special at all, just looks like one big CGI fest, like any movie looks, unfortunately, nowadays. Tom Holland as Drake, not a big fan of that at all. Don't think he was the right choice. Mark Wahlberg as Sully, I mean, I've seen the picture of him with the mustache. maybe it'll work, but I'm sure we won't see that till the end of the movie. And apparently this movie is just a compilation of stories from 1, 2, 3, and 4 put into one game, which is just stupid. And I already get a really bad feeling that the movie is not going to do well. This list shows many different video games being made into films. Some of the most popular video games I'm seeing here right now is the Gears of War film, a Ghost of Tsushima film, Just Cause film, Metal Gear Solid film, Saints Row, another Tomb Raider. It makes me worried because, for example, Ghost of Tsushima, I love that game. I think it's a fantastic game with a fantastic story, and it just makes me worried that they're not going to be able to do it properly. Because if history shows with video games, people can't make live action adaptations. It clearly doesn't work. There seems to be more success in the TV shows of video game adaptations, such as The Witcher. And I did make a video recently about how Mass Effect is apparently going to be getting a live action adaptation from Amazon. And I am very excited for that, but I'm also very nervous. Now, I think, what does it take to make a good video game movie or a video game show? What do you have to do? Instead of going left or instead of going right, what if you just dead smack right in the middle? What if you just take the game for what it is and copy and paste it to the actual movie? Now, the argument with that would be, well, for all the video game players out there, they might be bored because they already know what's gonna happen. They've played the video game. And I understand that, but I gotta be honest with you, as someone who is a video gamer, who loves video games, take Mass Effect for example. If they gave me a Mass Effect show or a movie that literally followed point for point the video games, 1, 2, and 3, shot for shot, you wouldn't see me complaining. I would want that. I don't want something that literally has nothing to do with Mass Effect, but happens to be in the Mass Effect world, or taking the main characters and doing a story that never ever happens. I just honestly believe that maybe the way you handle video game adaptations now is just taking the source material you have that everyone has played and just make the movie out of it. That way, for people who have played the game, we can sit here and say, yeah, sure, I've played the game, but I get to see it in a new medium, in a new light, which is a film or a show. And I also get to experience these actors and actresses' raw emotion. I get to see what they bring to the table in a story that, sure, I already know, but might feel fresh and a little brand new. And for the people who haven't played the video games because maybe they haven't gotten around to it, they don't have an interest in it, or maybe just don't like playing video games in general, now they can be a fan of these worlds without needing to rely on playing the video game. Now they can experience what we as gamers experience, or what we feel, or what we think, and the list goes on. I also really believe in should be obvious, but I don't really think is obvious to a lot of these film productions nowadays is, well, one, you need the right production studio. The right studio needs to give enough of a shit to make a good video game adaptation. And two, you need a director or a creative mind behind the project, the showrunner for a show or the director for a film, who also gives enough shit to give a video game adaptation its render and its due. And I just think that might be the best way to go at it. I think there's way too much experimenting with video game adaptations, and I think you just need to stick to the literal source material, which is the actual game. Prove me wrong. Maybe someone out there will do that with a video game movie and it doesn't work. But when I just look at a show, for example, and I look at The Witcher, The Witcher is clearly working. If The Witcher can do it, then other production companies with video game assets should be able to do it just as well. They just need to give a shit. But that's it for this video, guys. Leave in the comments below what you think of video game adaptations. Maybe you guys got some ideas that you can leave in the comments and let me know what you think they should be doing to make video game shows or movies better than what they end up being. But just like usual, make sure to leave a like and to subscribe to the channel. I have some great content on the way. And like always, I will talk to you all very soon.